last lesson for the week has one shift. We'll still be working with finding the least common multiple, but we'll be practicing our distributive property. Today we'll just look at the distributive property that contains decimals. So let's just review our LCM work first. Remember that we can kind of update how we do this as we're getting used to it, or should be getting used to it. Just kind of saying we have 6 and 7 on the denominators. We're going to count by 7. 6 does not go into 7. Next number would be 14. 6 does not go into 14. Next number would be 21. No. Next would be 28. No. Then 35. No. Then 42. Yes. And so 42 is my least common multiple. Remember that you can use a calculator to do this. You would just have to make sure that every time you get a number, divide it by 6. So notice that when you do 7 divided by 6, it doesn't work. Notice that when you do 14 divided by 6, you get a decimal. 21 divided by 6, you get a decimal. 28 divided by 6, decimal. 35 divided by 6, decimal. 42 divided by 6, whole numbers. So again, as long as you're willing to put in the work, I think you can get there. You just got to make sure you kind of just, again, accept the fight that it's going to take to kind of get to that number. And again, the best way to do it, even on the video, is to take this number and see if you can find the LCM before I do it. So I would pause the video right now. You don't have to, but I would pause the video right now to see what you think the least common multiple is, and then see if it matches. But we would count by 10. I know 8 does not go into 10 or 20 or 30, but I believe 8 times 5 is actually 40, and so your least common multiple there is 40. Same thing, pause it for a second if that's what you're doing to kind of see if you can figure out what C is. 4 does not go into 6, but in my opinion I believe 4 does go into 12, and so 12 would be your least common multiple. And then on the last one, again, using the bigger number, I believe 3 times 3 is 9, which means that 9 is your least common multiple. So again, you have one where 6 times 7 is 42, so it works that way. You have one where you had to go through 4 jumps to get to it. One of them took 2 jumps, one of them took 1. You just have to be careful with least common multiple because of the fact that you never know which way it's going to go, and you just need to stick with the process. When it comes to the distributive property, just slow down and get comfortable with the calculator. The process does not change, but as long as you do not type the numbers in the wrong way, you'll always get the correct answer. The reason I want you to show the meetings is because if you get used to putting 5 meets 3.1x and 5 meets negative 7.2y and 5 meets negative 6.3, all you have to do now is type the numbers in. 3.1 times 5 is 15.5 with an x. Negative 7.2 times 5 is negative 36. Just bring down a y. And then 6.3 times 5, again, a negative times a positive would be negative, is 31.5, so minus 31.5 with nothing attached. And that's all it takes. Again, the steps of that is the same as we did before. The only difference is now we just have to use a calculator to get the actual answer. So again, it shouldn't be that bad. Just make sure again that you are not losing focus on your foundation there. Here, 3 meets 1.7b and 3 meets 3.1c and 3 meets negative 4.6d. So again, the only thing you've got to do is 3 times 1.7, which is 5.1, attach the b to it. 3 times 3.1, which I believe is 9.3. There you go. So plus 9.1c. Again, make sure that b looks like a b, not a 6. And then negative, and that should have been a plus there. Negative 4.6 times 3, which is negative 13.8 d. Again, that is your answer. That's all it takes. So with the calculator, with the decimals, the only difference is just being careful typing in your numbers. Even when you have negatives, negative 4 meets 6.7w, and don't forget it connects with a plus. Negative 4 meets 3.5w, and negative 4 meets negative 7.1. So you type in those numbers. I just typed in times 4 to get 26.8 because I know it's going to be negative 26.8w. Again, I know that's going to be negative, so I don't need to type the negative. I'll just do 4 times 3.5 to get 14, but I know it will be negative 14 because it's a negative times a positive with a w attached. what was that? Oh, that should be an X. I was like, that doesn't make sense. And then 4 times 7.1 is 28.4, but again, because those two are negative, it would be positive 28.4, and again, that is all that it takes. So the only difference today versus yesterday and the day before is just that you have to use your calculator to get the actual answer. Even if there is a decimal outside, negative 4.1 times 3.7t, and negative 4.1 times negative 5.9u, and negative 4.1 times 6.8v. This is about as tough as it's going to get, but even this isn't bad because all you have to do is type them in. 4.1, 3.7 gives me 15.17. Again, a negative times a positive is negative, and then put the t on it. 4.1 times 5.9. Again, it's just calculator work. 24.19. Two negatives make a positive, so plus 2419u. And then 4.1 times 6.8. 2788, but this is a negative times a positive, so it'll be negative 27.88v, and that would be your answer. So notice your steps didn't change. That is why, again, I encourage you to show your steps. As long as you can set the problem up, then it makes it more manageable when things get tougher. The problems on your homework are the same problems you'll see on your quiz tomorrow. So this week, as long as you understand how to do them, then you should be fine on the assessment. Remember, for those of you who believe you cannot pass this class, you don't have to know 100% of the information. All you really have to know is 60% of it. So out of every 10 questions, if you can find 6 of them, or you miss only 4 out of every 10, you'll at least have a shot. So even at 50%, you have a chance to make it. So there's a lot of room for error. Just don't put all that pressure on yourself and think you need to be perfect. You just need to, get at least some of the stuff, and then kind of improve on those things as you keep going. To those of you who are doing well, just keep doing well. But again, good luck and have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next week.